What is going on, guys? Jim here with a video today, and in today's video, guys, we're going to talk about the PlayStation VR 2 and some news that I've gathered from hands-on content from IGN, The Verge, CNET, and so on and so on. Today, we're going to talk about how the VR performs, the specs, etc., etc. So much stuff to talk about with the PSVR 2, but there's one thing we're going to get out the way. There's no release date, there is no pre-order price, there is no pre-orders. So obviously we're looking at just hands-on content, and the hands-on content it's a massive upgrade to be expected. But let's talk about specs first. This is a modern look. The modern look is to match the PS5 itself. So you're not going to have PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 Move controllers. You're actually upgrading, obviously, to the DualSense 5 style controllers that match the system. If you are worried about using really bad controllers, don't worry about that, because these controllers are extremely immersive. From obviously having haptic feedback and adaptive triggers is another thing that is big with this new device in the headset and on the controllers. This is much more comfortable than the original PSVR. That thing was so uncomfortable. At times I thought it was stuck on my head for real. No, it was literally so uncomfortable, and I've read so many other people saying the same exact thing. The biggest thing about the actual device itself, though, is the OLED screen is replacing the old screen. This is actually an OLED screen, so it's going to be much more crisp and clean and without the grain, just like the PSVR 1 had. It's also going to have a 90 to 120 hertz for the frame rate, which is incredible compared to the, I think it was 630 to 60 on the PSVR itself. Maybe it was 60, I don't know. You'll see on the screen here. Also, it runs in 4K and HDR inside the headset versus what is 720 to 1080 in the original, if 1080 was even reached in that original PSVR. Like I said before, the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback are present inside the headset and the controller itself, so you're having a much more immersive feeling. So let's talk about the camera. The camera on the PSVR 1 was the biggest pain in the butt. It was literally, it would float this way, that way. It would literally fall off the table. It was so annoying. It was very inaccurate at times. Sometimes it was just a mess, and then you just put the VR down because of that. This is a huge upgrade. I'm sure you guys know about, there's 4 cameras built in the headset itself to have the immersion and the tracking inside the headset itself. So you're not going to have many problems with calibration like you had before, if any, to be honest. The games themselves that companies like IGN and so on have tried out are Horizon Call the Mountain, Resident Evil 8 Village, and the Star Wars game that was just announced yesterday, and I think a Walking Dead Sinners 2 game. So let's talk about the actual best game, and that is obviously going to be Horizon Call the Mountain, because it is built from the ground up for the PSVR 2 itself. It is a PlayStation exclusive. It is a VR exclusive on PS5. Horizon has the best bells and whistles and features when it comes to VR immersion, because A, it's the only game from the 4 games I'm listing right now that has adaptive trigger when it vibrates when you're climbing the rocks and stuff like that, and the haptic feedback from that, versus the other 3 games, which are just upgrades for the VR 2. There is only one cord, thank goodness, but it is still tethered to the back of the actual headset. So if you are wondering if it's wireless completely, it is not. A lot of people will be upset about that, but it's better than having 30 cords all over the ground as seen with the PSVR 1. Resident Evil itself seems to be a huge upgrade to the Resident Evil 7 Biohazard VR that happened with the PSVR 1. I actually really enjoyed that. It's probably one of the best games on the PSVR 1. But it does have that grainy look. It does have that lower resolution. So you're going to have the higher resolution without the grain effect, I'm sure, and better frame rate inside the headset for the actual Resident Evil Village game for the PSVR 2. It's going to be miles and miles better than the first Resident Evil 7 game on the VR 1. So if you loved Resident Evil 7 on the VR, you're going to really be excited to know that Resident Evil Village performs so much better because of its hardware specs and upgrades. The Walking Dead Sinners game, I've read that it's very fun, it's very good to chop up zombies, and it feels like you're inside that world as well, so it's good to hear that they have improved upon Sinners 1. When it comes to the immersion seems to be there. It seems to be locked in because of the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback, making it even more immersive. You also have better view. The grain effect seems to be gone. There's so much going on for this VR2 headset that makes the first one look like a joke at this point. You're talking a massive upgrade, which was to be expected because this first VR came out in 2016. We are 6 years later, going into 7 years later, for next year to get this new headset. So it's going to be much, much, much better. So don't worry about that. So that is it for today's video, guys. I try to gather as much information from these sources as much as possible to put into a video for you guys. The VR2 overall seems to be like a PS5 from a PS4 at this point. And also, it seems to be real deal when it comes to VR headsets. Is it going to be better than the Oculus and the Quest and stuff like that? I'm sure there's going to be people that say one's better and the other one's better, producing 4K HDR and at 90 to 120 Hz, which is crazy to begin with. Before Tokyo Game Show, guys, we might find out more. I'll be keeping you guys updated on the channel. So let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Do you think this VR2 headset's worth it? Do you think you're going to stick with the first one? Are you not into VR? This is definitely going to be a huge upgrade if you're worried about it not being an upgrade. I'm sure you guys know about some of the specs from other websites and news sources before, but this is mostly to talk about the hands-on content, and it's a very positive one. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Stay awesome, stay positive, most of all stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, guys.